In this video, I want to show you my current approach to scraping websites in 2026. To do this, I'll create a simple project where I scrape new construction home listings from different builders. The idea for this project is I can track the prices of the homes over time to see if the prices are changing for both the communities and the cities. When it comes to scraping, one of the biggest problems you'll encounter is getting your IP blocked because of rate limits or geolocation. Both of these can be solved by using a proxy for your requests that gives you access to more IP addresses than the one on your local machine or server. The proxy provider that I will use for this project is called Data Impulse, the sponsor of this video. Data Impulse has over 90 million residential IPs across 195 countries, and the payment model is pay-as-you-go. So you pay just $1 per 1 gigabyte with a $5 minimum for traffic that never expires. By using one of their proxies, I'll be able to send requests to the different builder sites without having to worry about my IP being blocked after too many requests or because I'm not in the right location. You'll see in the project how easy it is to set up and get working in a Python script. If you would like to try Data Impulse for yourself, just click on the link in the description below. Okay, so in the past when I wanted to scrape a site, I had to figure out the structure of the sites myself. I had to use the inspect tool to see the structure of the page. I had to use the network tab to get the requests that are being sent. And then I had to write all the code myself to get everything to work. Now with agentic AI coding assistants, writing the code to get the data from the sites is easy. If I wanted to get the information off the page just once, then passing the URL to Claude Code or Codex would be enough in a lot of cases. But if I want the ability to scrape the same page over time, then you need to direct Claude Code or Codex or whatever to generate a script for you to run. This way you save on tokens and you'll be able to control how the script is run over the long term. Okay, so here's the site I want to scrape. Let me go to Las Vegas because that's where I am right now. And the basic idea is I want to get all the homes that are available in Las Vegas. So I'll copy the URL here and I'll go back to VS Code. And what I want to tell Claude to do is generate a Python script, and let's say with a function to scrape the page. Okay, so I'm going to tell it to generate a Python script to get the home data. And I'll just let it go through the process and run. This will take a moment, obviously, but in the end, I should get a Python script that uses Python requests to get the data that I want. So I'll wait for it to finish here. Okay, so it's done now. It took 10 minutes. And let's take a look at what it generated. So it's using a request here, and then it's setting up this class for parsing. Then it has some helper functions, and then it looks like get home listings is the main function here. And that's what it uses. And because it uses requests, yeah, we need to install it. So I'll just use UV. So UV init bear, and then UV add requests. And then I can test out this script. So UV run DR Horton scraper, and let's see what results I get here. Okay, so we get the results here. We see the name. So the name for each house in this community is just like the address of it. And then also the communities that they're in and the prices, right? So that should match the website here. So let's just take a look at one. Let's take a look at the quick move-ins. So let's see if we can find a quick move-in. If not, we can just click into a community here, and then there should be one that's for sale. Okay, so we have one here. 3437 is 490-ish. 3437 here, and then 498.80. Okay, so we're getting all the data that we want. And the nice thing about using Claude Code for this is I didn't have to write all the code to parse everything. So it's not really complicated code to write. It just is a little annoying to write sometimes. So using Claude Code to generate this is great. And the rest of the code is going to be easy, so I'll write that myself. And because I want to modify it over time, I think writing it myself will be a lot better. Okay, so this is nice, but the problem that you'll run into is if you run this too many times over a short period of time, you'll eventually get rate limited, and you'll get an error that kind of looks like this. So I just sent a request and I'm getting a 403 now that I've done it too much. So this is what I want to be able to get around, because when I automate the process, I don't want it to fail because it's rate limited. And that's where the proxy comes into play. So the first thing you need to know about proxies is they go on the requests call, right? So I'm using the request library here, and let me find where it's used. So we have the session here, and then the session is going to be used to send all the requests. So let me show you what that looks like. So we have this session.get on line 84, and then we have another one on line 91, and that's it. So we have two. We have one on line 91 and one on line 84. So those are the things that I need to update with the proxies. So what I'm going to do up here is just at the top, I'm going to add this dictionary called proxies. And it's going to have two keys. One will be HTTP and the other will be HTTPS. And they're really going to be the same value. And to get this value, you need to go to your proxies dashboard and get these values. So what I'll do is I'll go to the Data Impulse dashboard. So here's my Data Impulse dashboard, and I have this residential proxy set up. So I'll go here, and then I have my proxy information up here. So the login, password, the host, and the port. For the targeting, with these home builders, they tend to block you if you're not in the country that you're looking at the homes for. So D.R. Horton sells homes in the US. So you want to make sure that the United States is selected here for the country that the IPs that you're going to use. So this one has 125,000 IPs in the United States. And then also you can have a rotation interval. So as you use the proxy, the IP address will be rotated by Data Impulse. So let's just put 30 seconds here. And it's going to be a rotating DNS host name as well. And then down here is a complete example of what the proxy URL looks like. So I can just copy this out of this curl example. And then I just want to save the configuration here because I made some changes. And then I'll go back over to VS Code. And then I'll put the same URL in both. So we see it goes under HTTP and HTTPS. And now that I have that, I can go to line 84 and 91. And line 91. And we can have proxies equals the proxies dictionary that I just created. So this will be the same on the other one. So line 84 was around the line that it was on. So let me find that. Somehow I lost it already. Okay, line 96, proxies. So now when I run this, let's see what happens. I'm able to get the data again. And if I go over to the dashboard for Data Impulse, I'll see the request that I just made to D.R. Horton, and we see the costs of it. So yeah, we see it doesn't use up that much of the bandwidth that we have available, and it's able to get around the rate limiting. So I highly recommend using Data Impulse if you are going to be doing some kind of scraping where you won't be sitting there watching the script as it runs to fix any issues. Having the rotating proxy is going to work well for you to make sure that it doesn't error out when it's running. Okay, so now that I have this data, what I want to do is I want to put it into a database. So these are the values that I want to put in. And what I'll do here is I'll put all the code in the if block down here, the if dunder name equals dunder main. So first what I want to do is I want to create a database. So I'll create a database called homes.db. And in it, I'll create a table called homes. And it's going to have an ID, int primary key. It's going to have the name of the home. It's going to have the community, which is also text. And then it's going to have the price, which is going to be an integer. And then finally, I want the date that I picked up this value because I want to see the prices change over time. So we'll just say date. Okay. So now if I do .tables, we have homes as the one table in here. So now in my script, I want to go up here and import SQLite. Okay, so what I want to do down here is I need to connect to the database. So I'll do connection equals SQLite3.connect. and I want to connect to homes.db. And then I need a cursor. So I'll say cursor equals the connection.cursor. So after the homes, what I'll do is I'll keep this simple. And in this loop, what I'll do is I'll insert each home. So I'll say insert into homes. And then the values that I'm inserting are the name, the community, the price, and then the date. And I need to import date from datetime. So let me do that up here. From datetime, import date. And let's go back down. So insert into homes, the name, community, price, and date. And then the values are going to be placeholders. So %s for all of them. And then as the second argument, so let me break up the lines here. So the second argument, I'll pass a tuple with the values that I'm interested in. So we have the home name first. So home name, this is a dictionary. And then we have home community, home price, and then the date will be date.today. Okay. So then after that, I'll commit. So I'll do connection.commit. And I'll close the cursor. Cursor.close, and I'll close the connection. Connection.close. Okay. So let's go ahead and run this, make sure it's working. So UV run DR Horton Scraper. I'll remove the print here and I'll fix any errors that I may have generated. So let's take a look. And I get this error, the %s. It's actually because I think this is question marks, not %s. So %s is Postgres. So let me go ahead and just change this and run it again. All right, so it looked like it worked. I have this deprecation warning for something that eventually will need to be changed, but for now it's fine. So now if I do select star from homes, I see all the homes that I have in the database here. And then I can do other queries like select star from homes, and I can order by price, for example. So it starts with the cheapest and it goes to the most expensive. I can do price descending, and then it goes down to the cheapest. One thing that I'll eventually do is I'll group by the days. So for example, select star from homes, group by date. And then instead of star, it should be date. And then let's say the average price. So average price on that date. So we see 485,553. And I can do a bunch of queries like this. So the idea is I'll run this script occasionally, like maybe every day, every week. And then I'll get the same homes with different dates. So I'll be able to compare the dates as the home prices are changing over time to see if the houses are getting cheaper or more expensive. If they're getting cheaper, then you know that maybe the builder is a little more desperate to get rid of the homes. And if they're getting more expensive, then maybe the demand for the homes is higher than expected. So that's basically all I wanted to show you in the video. The main part of my newer process for scraping is using AI to generate the code to actually get the structure of the page and get the data out of the page, because that is the most time consuming part. The rest of the code where you just use the data, either putting it in a database or querying it, is a lot easier, and you can write that by hand because you may want to change it in quite a few ways. But the code for scraping the site and getting the data initially, that part doesn't really change. And the nice thing about it is if something on the target website changes, you can just tell AI to get the new version of it and then regenerate the script. And then, like I said, you'll have to get around rate limiting sometimes. So you can use Data Impulse as a proxy, and that will prevent your script from crashing when it takes too long to run or you've run it too many times in a short period of time. So that's all for this video. Let me know in the comments down below what you do for your web scraping. Do you have a different process? Do you use different tools? Let me know in the comments below. So thank you for watching this video, and I will talk to you next time.